Welcome to the deep dive.
Okay, step right up because today we're diving headfirst into the legendary history of Liverpool FC. We're really zeroing in on those, electrifying victories that are just etched into the club's soul. Yeah, and we've pulled together quite a stack of sources for this. We've got articles really dissecting those dramatic wins, looking at the huge record score lines.
And there's even one with a really unique take, isn't there? Connecting these massive football moments to, well, broader historical events. Kind of unexpected.
Absolutely. So our mission here really is to cut through all that and pull out the real gold nuggets. We want to understand what fundamentally makes these wins so unforgettable.
Right.
And, try to get behind how they genuinely managed to, as one source puts it, shock the bookies.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, figure out what they actually mean to the fans who live through them.
Okay, so get ready. We're talking pulse-pounding drama, displays of just sheer overwhelming power on the pitch, and some surprisingly intriguing historical context too. Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe jump straight into a theme that practically leaps off the page in these sources: the art of the comeback. It happens again and again. Liverpool finds itself in these, well, seemingly impossible situations, and they just create magic.
That's a perfect starting point. And the absolute pinnacle, it's front and center in all the sources covering memorable wins. It's got to be the 2005 Champions League final against AC Milan. The Miracle of Istanbul.
Istanbul, yeah. The situation at halftime, it was dire, wasn't it? 3-0 down.
Dyer's putting it mildly. They were 3-0 down against, arguably the best team in Europe at that moment. It looked utterly finished.
It really felt like the game was over. Done. So what did the sources say happened that second half to completely flip the script like that?
Well, they described this transformation, a surge. Liverpool scored 3 goals in just 6 minutes. 6. Wiped out that lead that seemed insurmountable.
Incredible.
Sources call it a historic moment, not just for Liverpool, but for football itself. They highlight the sheer determination the team showed.
Clawing their way back.
Exactly, to claw their way back from the absolute brink and then go on to win it on penalties. But interestingly, it wasn't just pure grit, Some sources analyzed the tactical shift Rafa Benitez made. Bringing on Dietmar Hamann at halftime, it had an immediate impact, helped Liverpool actually gain control in midfield, which they totally lacked before.
And look, that wasn't just a one-off miracle, was it? The sources, they keep bringing up the 2019 Champions League semifinal against Barcelona.
Oh, yeah, Barca.
Losing the first leg 3-0 at the Camp Nou against Messi and that team. That feels like an even steeper mountain than Istanbul, maybe.
It certainly felt like it at the time. Overturning a deficit like that, against that caliber of opposition, it seemed almost, unimaginable.
But then Anfield.
Yeah. Yeah. On a truly unforgettable night, Liverpool produced another miracle, a 4-0 victory.
Just stunning.
And what's fascinating is how the sources really dwell on the details. One specifically highlights the winning goal. Yeah. Divock Origi.
That corner.
Off that incredibly swift Trent Alexander-Arnold corner. It shows not just the spirit, but the tactical awareness, the execution under immense pressure.
Thinking fast.
Right. It wasn't just blind hope. It was, calculated brilliance culminating in that moment.
That corner, that moment feels like it just captures the essence of that whole unexpected victory. This comeback theme, it pops up elsewhere too, doesn't it? The sources point to the 2016 Europa League quarterfinal against Borussia Dortmund, Klopp's old team.
Another classic. Klopp against Dortmund.
Yeah.
Trailing 3-1 late in that match, needing 3 goals in, about half an hour?
Seemed impossible again.
And they did it again. 3 goals in 6 frantic minutes to win 4-3. And guess who scored the crucial goal?
Let me guess. Origi.
Divock Origi again. Yeah. What's genuinely striking looking across these accounts is this recurring pattern. Dramatic late goals, often the same player stepping up in these critical moments.
Turning probability on its head.
Exactly. Turning what statistical models would say is, highly improbable into reality. It really speaks to something beyond just talent, doesn't it? That collective will to win right until the very last whistle.
Okay, so if that's the art of the comeback, let's maybe shift gears. Let's look at the flip side, those moments of just sheer overwhelming dominance, where the opposition just seemed to, melt away. The sources talk a lot about victories with massive scorelines.
They certainly do. And the standout examples mentioned are 2 occasions where Liverpool actually put 9 goals past their opponents.
9.
The 2022 Premier League win against Bournemouth, for instance, One source calls it an 8-goal drubbing. It stands as Liverpool's biggest ever Premier League win.
It came after a rough start of the season, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So sources framed it as this powerful statement of intent, like,
Yeah.
we're back.
9-0 in the Premier League is just staggering. But they actually matched that scoreline way back in 1989, didn't they, against Crystal Palace in a league match? And what's that truly remarkable detail the sources highlight about that specific game?
Oh, yeah, this is amazing. 8 different players scored in that 1989 match.
8?
8 different scorers. Just think about that. The scoring threat came from literally everywhere on the pitch.
Yeah.
That detail really underlines the attacking depth and strength of that late 80s side under Kenny Dalglish.
Wow.
It wasn't relying on just 1 or 2 strikers, a whole team effort, creating, finishing from multiple positions.
So beyond the 9-0s, the sources bring in other huge European wins as well, like a 2007 Champions League group stage.
Right, they crushed Besiktas 8-0. Sources mentioned Yossi Benayoun grabbed a hat-trick in that one.
Yeah.
And it was noted as really helping stabilize the team after a bit of a rough start to their European campaign that year. One source specifically calls it the biggest Champions League group stage win in history, at least at that time.
And we see references to even older, proper record-breaking wins, too. Ones that are really etched in the history books.
Oh, yeah. The club's all-time record victory is, wait for it, 11-0. 11-0 against Strømsgodset in the 1974 UEFA Cup. And again, echoing that 1989 game, 9 different starters got on the score sheet.
Yeah.
That shared responsibility thing again.
It's a pattern.
Oh.
And the joint second biggest wins, both 10-0.
Yeah, 10-0 against Dundalk in the 69 Fairs Cup, and then again against Fulham in the 86 League Cup. Plus, you've got the record away win, 8-0 at Stoke City in the 2000 League Cup.
Stoke away, 8-0.
I know. These aren't just big wins. They're like historical markers, periods where Liverpool just possessed this almost unmatched attacking force capable of truly dismantling opponents.
Okay, so we've had the nail-biting comebacks, the overwhelming dominations, but the sources also touch upon other memorable encounters, right? Games that stick in the memory for maybe different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Like the 1986 FA Cup final against their massive rivals, Everton.
The Merseyside Derby final. Huge.
A 3-1 victory at Wembley. It's described as a pulsating Merseyside derby. One source even notes the intensity, maybe even the brutality of that specific game.
High stakes.
Totally. And it frames the win as really solidifying Liverpool's reign as the Kings of England during the 80s, especially as they completed the league and cup double that year. Massive achievement.
That derby win, yeah, it just carries so much weight, doesn't it? Then there's that incredibly tense 2004 Champions League group game against Olympiacos.
Oh, the Gerrard goal game.
Exactly. Liverpool had to win by 2 clear goals just to qualify for the knockout stage. They went behind early on, making it even harder, then had to fight tooth and nail.
Right. They somehow battled back to win 3-1. And the sources, well, they universally highlight Steven Gerrard's late long-range special strike as the goal that finally sealed it.
What a hit.
Pure drama. A game where the result just hung in the balance right until the final minutes. It really shows that sometimes memory isn't just about the scoreline itself, but the sheer stakes involved and those iconic moments within the match.
Totally agree. And one more that gets mentioned is the 2008 Premier League match against Manchester City. Bit of a comeback again, actually.
Yeah, coming back from 2-0 down early on in that one, they won 3-2. Fernando Torres scored twice.
And Jack Kite got a really late winner, didn't he?
He did. Very late. Sources describe it as keeping their title hopes alive in dramatic fashion. So yeah, another example of finding a way to win when they were trailing, that resilience again.
Now, okay, here's where one of the sources takes this really unique and I have to say quite fascinating turn. It connects Liverpool's European Cup victories to seemingly completely unrelated broader historical events happening in the same year.
Yeah, it's quite a perspective. It views the club's triumphs within this much larger global context. The source actually lists specific victory years and links them directly to unrelated world events.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, so 1977, their first European Cup win, is connected to the New York City blackout. Then 1978 is linked to the birth of Louise Brown, the world's first test tube baby.
Wow. Okay, keep going.
1981 is tied to Thailand's April Fool's Day coup attempt, that Young Turks Rebellion. And 1984 is linked to the assassination of Indira Gandhi in India.
Okay, that's a really interesting way to frame history in football. What about the more recent European triumphs? Does it continue?
It does. For the 2005 Istanbul win, the source links it to the Thai Party winning the general election with a single-party majority in Thailand that year.
Right.
And then the 2019 Champions League win is connected to the Thai general election that year, which the source describes as the first in 8 years and facing various complex challenges and political shifts.
So it's a perspective that frames Liverpool, as the source puts it, as more than a football team, representing culture, spirit.
Exactly. It weaves in elements like the anthem "You'll Never Walk Alone," the idea of the cop being the metaphorical 12th player, and that whole mystique of this is Anfield.
And it's quite notable how this particular source chooses to sort of contrast the 2019 football win with the political events it mentions alongside it.
Yes. It emphasizes that, for some people perhaps, the football victory held this deeper value. It represented qualities like resilience, effort, playing by the rules.
And placing it maybe in opposition to complexities in politics.
Seemingly so, yes. Placing it in opposition to perceived issues or complexities in the political sphere it mentions. Now, obviously, we're just reporting the unique viewpoint and the comparison presented in this specific source material. We're not endorsing or validating the political commentary itself.
No, of course not.
But just acknowledging how this source frames the significance of that win in that particular context. It's quite a striking juxtaposition.
It really is. Okay, let's maybe circle back to something mentioned right at the start, this idea that these results shocked the bookies. From a statistical probability kind of perspective, why are wins like these, the huge comebacks, the massive scorelines, why are they considered so unexpected?
Well, because typical betting odds and, statistical models, they're built on analyzing probabilities. They look at historical data, current form, expected performance levels, average outcome, the numbers. A team being 3-0 down with only, say, 20 minutes left has a statistically very low probability of winning. And scoring 9 goals in a professional football match against competitive opposition, that's also a really rare event.
So the models, they predict the likely outcome based on all that historical data.
Exactly, but they really struggle to quantify the intangibles. And this raises a really important question, doesn't it? How do you actually put a numerical value on factors like sheer team spirit?
Yeah.
Or the psychological impact of conceding or scoring a goal at a really critical moment? Or the determination of players pushing through fatigue? Or that undeniable surge of energy a massive home crowd like Anfield can inject into a team.
That 12th player idea again.
Right, effectively acting as that 12th player. These elements, they aren't easily factored into algorithms, yet they clearly demonstrably influence these outcomes that seem improbable on paper.
And that connects perfectly back to the fan perspective that the sources highlight, doesn't it? While the bookmakers are dealing in probabilities and might be genuinely shocked by the deviation from what was expected, the fans who experienced it, as the source says, will treasure them forever. The value isn't just the 3 points or the final score on the board.
No, not at all. It's the narrative. It's the shared emotion, that feeling of witnessing something truly extraordinary, something that defied the odds.
So ultimately, the sources, when you pull them all together, they paint this picture of Liverpool's legacy being defined by this really remarkable duality, wouldn't you say?
I think that's right. Moments of just ruthless dominance where they simply overwhelm teams with sheer attacking power, contrasted really sharply with these instances of remarkable resilience, where they somehow overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. It's both sides of the coin.
This deep dive has definitely taken us through an incredible spectrum, hasn't it? Memorable victories in Liverpool FC's history, from those edge-of-your-seat, heart-and-mouth comebacks against Europe's absolute elite, to those overwhelming, record-setting wins in domestic leagues and cups. Just total demolition jobs sometimes.
And as the sources compellingly show, these aren't just historical footnotes or statistics for the record books. They become deeply ingrained in the club's very identity.
Right, the fabric.
Exactly. They form the bedrock of fan folklore. And as that one source uniquely illustrated, they can even be seen in this fascinating contrast to the broader historical tapestry of the times they actually occurred in.
So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder as you reflect on all these stories we've discussed. Considering how often belief, determination, that collective human spirit in these footballing moments seem to defy the statistical odds and genuinely shock the bookies. What does that tell us about the power of narrative, the power of those intangible factors versus pure probability, not just in sports, but maybe in navigating the unexpected twists and turns we all encounter elsewhere in life?
Something to think about, definitely. That interplay between the predictable and the utterly unpredictable.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.